what's up everyone, and welcome to my review for Pain and Gain, which is a brand new movie directed by Michael Bay, yeah I know, and starring Mark Wahlberg and Dwayne Johnson for his maybe, 12th movie this year? He's in a lot of movies this year. And this is actually, I think, his third movie. He has, I think, 2 more, I'm not sure, but he has a lot of movies this year. So, what did I think of this movie? Well, I was actually kind of looking forward to seeing it because it felt like it was going to be a new Bad Boys in a way. I mean, it wasn't going to be exactly like Bad Boys, but it wasn't Transformers, it wasn't Armageddon, it wasn't Pearl Harbor. You know, it was actually a movie that was going to be about a couple dudes screwing stuff up, you know, just Bad Boys. And I love Bad Boys 1 and 2, so I was actually looking forward to seeing this. And, well, the reviews have been pretty mixed. I mean, pretty much the same as Bad Boys 1 and 2, so I was actually kind of looking forward to it. So, what did I think of Pain and Gain? Well, let's talk about the story. Alright, so the story for Pain and Gain is a bit odd for me to explain. Not because it's hard to explain, it's because it's a Michael Bay film, which should be, you know, obvious that it's easy to explain right there. It's a Michael Bay film. But it's a Michael Bay film that's a comedy, which, sure, in a way, Bad Boys 1 and 2 and all the Transformers films are comedies. Quotes around comedies for Transformers, but because it's not funny. But the story here is a comedy. It has all the Michael Bayisms you would expect. It has quick edits, slow-mo, oversaturation of color, a lot of very odd choices for humor, which I'll explain later. Just, you know, typical stuff you would see from a Michael Bay film. But unlike most of his films, besides Pearl Harbor, this is a true story, and Pearl Harbor wasn't a crazy, weird comedy. No, that was definitely one of his most serious films. I mean, it had silly moments, but it was still very serious. It wasn't like, oh, look at these Japanese, they're crazy. Like, no, they didn't treat that movie at all like that. They treat this movie like that, definitely, and it is a true story about a bunch of bodybuilders that robs a man. You know, nothing bad there. Well, okay, it's bad, but no one got killed there. And in the process, they kill a couple people. So, treating this as a comedy is a bit weird, but you know what? I'm just going to treat it as a movie right now. And the story here, of course, follows Daniel Lugo, who is played by Mark Wahlberg, who is a bodybuilder that wants more out of life. So what he decides to do is he's going to team up with a couple of other bodybuilders, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Anthony Mackie, and rob this guy that is loaded, that Daniel Lugo knows. He's going to pretty much, take him, torture him, make him sign a few waivers, and get all of his money. And if that happens or not, you'll have to watch the movie, or if you read a newspaper in the 1990s, and you might know what happens. So, yeah, the story here is very, very, it's a true story, but even if it wasn't a true story, it's, you know, somewhat generic. You know, you know where it's going to go. It's kind of predictable, especially if it, you know the true story itself. And I'm not sure if all the things they put in this film are true, but for the most part, it does follow what the story was, because I did read about the story a bit, and it did follow it for the most part from what I've read. And yeah, the story here is actually, you know, entertaining, engaging for the most part. It's pretty long, which, you know, most Michael Bay films are really long. You know, I don't think he's ever made a really short one, but it's long, it's engaging. I think the performances are great here. I think Mark Wahlberg did a great job as Daniel Lugo, even though he's a complete dick in this film. I thought he did a really good job. My favorite one is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who we've seen plenty in this film, in this year, and he is great in this. At first, you actually care for him, because he's not the typical bodybuilder. You think, oh, you look at The Rock, he's going to be a dick to everybody. He's actually a nice dude. You know, he found Jesus, he's a good dude. He just wants to be friends, he doesn't want to hurt anybody. He's a good dude, and you actually care for him. And I like the escalation of his character throughout the film. I actually really thought that was great, and he did a great job with it. He's very funny. He's very fun in the film. You actually really like his character. Except, I'm pretty sure you probably wouldn't like him in real life because he's based on a real guy that committed murder, but whatever. Anyway, and Anthony Mackie is great as well in the film. Tony Shalhoub plays the guy that they rob, and he's great as well. And also Ed Harris is in the film. He doesn't show up until about an hour into the film, but he's great as well. So overall, the acting is great. The writing, for the most part, is okay, even though I would say the jokes are a lot miss and sometimes hit. There's some that are really funny, but others that are just, wow, that was kind of bad. I would say that's pretty bad. I have to admit. I mean, it was never like, oh, that was so bad, but it was like, oh, that wasn't really funny. A lot of the jokes are, you know, gay humor, someone expressing their face really like, oh, look at my face, who, and it's a very mixed bag of just stupid humor gay jokes and whatnot, but some of them do hit and some of them do definitely work. The movie is also very violent. Now, it's not Bad Boys 2 violence where people are getting thrown out of vans and getting ran over by cars, or someone's head gets shot and they fall back and mines blow up everywhere. It's not that violent, but it's more realistic violence, but they put a little bit of goofiness in some of that violence. I ain't gonna spoil it, but let's just say someone's toe gets shot off and then a dog is carrying it around in its mouth. So yeah, they added some goofiness with the violence, and again, it's a true story, so you'll be like, what? Okay, but again, I just watched it as a movie, not as a movie that was based on a true story, even though it says it right on the poster, this is a true story, watch it. Like, no, like, I just watched it as a film, and it was fun, it had a lot of violence in it, it was very dark, it really was, but I did really like the acting. I thought some of the humor was funny, but a lot of it did miss, but the movie itself went by really quick. Even when some of those jokes did miss, something else would hit, and it would just keep going on, and I completely forgot what missed. And I think everybody did a great job here, acting-wise. Everybody was energetic, had fun, no boring roles at all. It was quick, it was entertaining, it was a true story that I think actually did a decent job of telling what happened, except they made it a comedy again. So there was funny moments, there were some really unfunny moments, but it was still a fast, energetic ride with some good acting. I think Pain and Gain is a good movie. Not great though, definitely not. So I'm going to give Pain and Gain a 29 out of 40. I think it's a fun movie, definitely. Go check it out at a matinee, but it's not amazing, definitely not. So anyway, there you go. There's my review for Pain and Gain. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and goodbye.